Today being Saturday, we are reading from Caitanya Caritamrita. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. Okay, there is a marker. We are reading from the Adi Lila of the Caitanya Caritamrita. I'm not sure if this is the actual marker. What's the marker? I think the only marker that's here. Well.
Text number 19, 20, 19 like Govinda Gopinam. That's chapter 19.
Chapter 19?
First chapter, 19th verse.
19th verse.
That we covered.
Sambandha Vidya details.
Yes, that was a long purport that we had read and some interesting, and then we read a few other verses. In any event, we will begin with the verse after this long purport that we read, which is text number 20. Granther Arambhe Kari Mangalacharan Guru Vaishna Bhagavan Tiner Smaran. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tiner Smarane Hai Vigna Vinashana Anayase Hai Nija Vanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very clearly enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text number 22. Se Mangala Charana Hai Trividha Prakara Vastu Nirdesha Ashirvada Namaskara. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. We get a glimpse here, and this is also explained by the Goswamis of Vrindavan, who wrote so many different literatures as well, that there's a particular way, there's a methodology in writing any kind of literature, and this is what is being referred to here. In writing a drama, for example, our acharyas have given a very nice explanation. So many different things that need to be introduced. In other words, everything has a particular process, and there are reasons for that as well. Here, of course, it's invoking any endeavor that we take up naturally. Those who are in a devotional consciousness, we seek the blessings of superiors. We seek the blessings of the Lord and the devotees so that our endeavor may be successful. And of course this was nicely followed here by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Pratam dve sloke istadeva namaskar Samanya Vishesha Rupe Dvita Prakar. The first two verses offer respectful obeisances generally and specifically to the Lord, who is the object of worship. Tritiya Sloke Te Kari Vastura Nirdesha Yaha Hoite Jani Paratatvera Udesha. In the third verse, I indicate the absolute truth, who is the ultimate substance. With such a description, one can visualize the supreme truth. Text 25. Chaturtha slokete kari jagate asirvada sarvatra majiye Krishna Caitanya Prasad. In the fourth verse, I have invoked the benediction of the Lord upon all the world, praying to Lord Caitanya for his mercy upon all. Se sloke kahi bhayavatara karanam panchashastha sloke kahi Mula Prayojana. In that verse, I have also explained the external reason for Lord Chaitanya's incarnation. By the 5th and 6th verses, I have explained the prime reason for his advent. Text 27. Echai sloke kahi Chaitanya tattva ar pancha sloke nityanandera mahatva. In these 6 verses, I have described the truth about Lord Chaitanya, whereas in the next 5, I have described of Lord Nityananda. Text 28. Ardvi shloke advaita tattva kyana ar eka shloke panchatatver vyakyana. Translation. The next 2 verses describe the truth of Advaita Prabhu, and the following verse describes the Panchatattva, the Lord, his plenary portion, his incarnation, his energies, and his devotees. Text 29. E chauda shloke kari mangala charanam tanhi madhye kahi saba vastu nirupana. These 14 verses, therefore, offer auspicious invocations and describe the supreme truth. So none of these have purports. Text number 30. Sab Srota Vaishnavere Kari Namaskar E Sab Slokera Kari Artha Vichara. I offer my obeisances unto all of my Vaishnava readers. Dandavats are offered to everyone here. As I began to explain the intricacies of all these verses. So, we all know how the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, which are described by our acharyas and by Srila Prabhupada as the ABC of spiritual life. Bhagavad Gita is meant to be the beginning of all knowledge. And the beginning of that knowledge is not so ABC for most of us. It's not so, it is actually very, as Krishna himself explains, it is a very hidden and confidential knowledge. A more advanced knowledge, more elaborate knowledge is what is presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when we begin to read the Caitanya Caritamrita, then that is described as a postgraduate level. So we should not be discouraged or disturbed that we may not immediately be able to understand the intricacies that are involved in this presentation of the Caitanya Caritamrita. Text number 31, we're getting close to one, in a few verses. There's one purport by Srila Prabhupada. Of course, 31 also has a short purport. So text 31, Sakala Vaishnava Shuno Kari Ekamana Caitanya Krishnera Shastra Mata Nirupana. I request all my Vaishnava readers to read and hear with rapt attention this narration of Sri Krishna Chaitanya as inculcated in the revealed scriptures. Purport. Lord Chaitanya is the absolute truth, Krishna himself. This is substantiated by evidence from the authentic spiritual scriptures. Sometimes people accept a man as God on the basis of their whimsical sentiments and without reference to the revealed scriptures. But the author of Caitanya Caritamrita proves all his statements by citing the Shastras. Thus he establishes that Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is not so easy for many people to accept. It's difficult enough for most people to accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, after one, especially people from outside of India, I suppose, who are having much less knowledge of the Vedic literatures, but for people in the Western countries to finally accept that, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and generally one learns first about Krishna and then later about Lord Chaitanya. So then after some time, I remember because it happened to me and I'm sure it happened to many people also, after finally coming to the point of, making a major decision in one's life, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then as you continue to read the books, there's also another Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, how can there be two Supreme Personalities of Godhead? Of course, these are all topics of what we call tattva. And these are all very, very deep and intricate subject matters that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu himself, as we know, explained especially to his foremost of close associates in the personalities of Sri Rup and Sanatan, isn't it? They were the ones who received very personal instructions, of course others as well, but amongst the Goswamis, Rupa and Sanatan received special instructions from Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So the point Prabhupada is making here is that actually we see, and that's why it's initially not at all easy to accept someone, because so many people claim he's a Supreme Personality, he's God, he's God, he's God. And there's a tendency, of course, of people who are from a particular place to establish someone from their place as God. And we don't have any Bengalis here, but anyways, Lord Chaitanya, who's from Bengal, it just happens based on, and that's the important point being made here, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami goes at great length to substantiate his claim that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This happened to me a few months after I had surrendered to Krishna. Then I came to know you also have to surrender to Lord Chaitanya. But once in the movement for some time, and reading and studying the literature, it is all possible. Of course, there is reference here made to Panchatattva. Panchatattva is it's not only one tattva, but 5 tattvas, isn't it? So just to continue here, text number 32. Krishna Guru Bhakta Shakti Avatara Prakash Krishna Echai Rupe Karena Vilas. Lord Krishna enjoys by manifesting himself as the spiritual master, the devotees, the diverse energies, the incarnations, and the plenary portions. They are all 6 in 1. Achinta Beda Beda Tattva. Echai Tattvera Kori Charana Vandana Prathame Samanye Kori Mangala Charana. I therefore worshipped the lotus feet of these 6 diversities of the one truth by invoking their benediction. And text 34 that Prabhupada will explain a bit more in detail. Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktan Isham Ishavatarakan Tat Prakasham Satat Sakti Krishna Chaitanya Samnakam. Translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has composed this Sanskrit verse. Yeah, all the other verses are Bengali and this one is Sanskrit. So he has composed this Sanskrit verse for the beginning of his book, and now he will explain it in detail. He offers his respectful obeisances to the 6 principles of the Absolute Truth. What are those 6 principles? Gurun. Gurun is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master. Although others give help in showing the way to beginners, the Guru who first initiates one with the Mahamantra is to be known as the initiator. And the saints who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters. So what we call Shiksha Guru, instructing spiritual master, and one who gives Diksha, Diksha Guru. So the initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings. Their function is to guide the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami accepted Nityananda Prabhu and the 6 Goswamis in the category of Guru. Second, Ishta Bhaktan refers to the devotees of the Lord like Srivas and all other such followers who are the energy of the Lord and are qualitatively non-different from Him. So bhaktas, all living entities are, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Amai Vangsho, Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, we are the Angsha, part and parcel of Krishna. Then Ishavatarakan refers to acharyas like Advaita Prabhu, who is an avatar of the Lord. So there are gurus like the Goswamis of Vrindavan. Then there are devotees, Srivas, like Srivas. And then there are avatars like Advaita Prabhu. Then the other category is Tat Prakasham. Tat Prakasham indicates a direct manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nityananda Prabhu, and the initiating spiritual master. That's Shakti. It refers to the spiritual energies, Shaktis, of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Gadadhar, Damodar, and Jagadananda belong to this category of internal energy. The 6 principles are differently manifested but are equally worshipable. Krishnadas Kaviraj begins by offering his obeisances unto them to teach us the method of worshipping Lord Chaitanya. The external potency of Godhead, called Maya, can never associate with the Lord, just as darkness cannot remain in the presence of light. Yet darkness, being but an illusory and temporary covering of light, has no existence independent of light. Okay, text 35. Mantra Guru ar yata shiksha Guru gan tanhar charana age kariye bandhan. I first offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master, and all my instructing spiritual masters. So another purport by Srila Prabhupada here. Srila Jiva Goswami in his thesis, Bhakti Sandarbha. How many Sandarbhas? 6. And which one is Bhakti Sandarbha? Huh? Tattva Sandarbha. What is the purpose of Tattva Sandarbha? Tattva Sandarbha, in essence, establishes Vedic knowledge in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, Srila Jiva Goswami establishes the Srimad Bhagavatam as the tattva, as the source of all knowledge, as the perfection or conclusion or highest manifestation of Vedic knowledge. That is the meaning of tattva sandarbha. And then he goes on to the other 5 sandarbhas. The second one being Bhagavat Sandarbha. Bhagavat Sandarbha refers to the impersonal aspect of Godhead, Brahman aspect. Then after Bhagavat Sandarbha, there is Paramatma. Yeah, thank you. Paramatma Sandarbha. After Paramatma Sandarbha, there is Krishna Sandarbha. So these 3 actually constitute what is called Sambandha Gyan, relationship. One can have a relationship in these different categories. The topmost, of course, being Krishna relationship with Krishna, with God and His personal feature. So that is up to 4. And the 5th is this Bhakti Sandarbha. Bhakti Sandarbha is referring to Abhidaya Gyan, means activities. What are meant to be the activities of someone who is actually situated in the highest tattva, means Krishna tattva, and that is bhakti, devotional service to Krishna. And then the last of the sandarbhas is called Priti, isn't it? Priti Sandarbha. Priti Sandarbha is the prayojana, describing prayojana gyan, means the conclusion or the goal of one who engages in the activities of bhakti. As one practices devotional service, one develops his love of God. So this is being referred to here, and this is of course all presented by Srila Jiva Goswami. So there's reference here to the thesis Bhakti Sandarbha, text number 202. So he has stated, Srila Jiva Goswami, that uncontaminated devotional service is the objective of pure Vaishnavas, and thus one has to execute such service in the association of other devotees, sadhu sangha. By associating with devotees of Lord Krishna, one develops a sense of Krishna consciousness and thus becomes inclined toward the loving service of the Lord. This is the process of approaching the Supreme Lord by gradual appreciation in devotional service. If one desires unalloyed devotional service, one must associate with the devotees of Sri Krishna, for by such association only can a conditioned soul achieve a taste for transcendental love and thus revive his eternal relation with Godhead in a specific manifestation and in terms of the specific transcendental mellow rasa that one has eternally inherent in him. Two more paragraphs here in the purport. If one develops love for Krishna, by Krishna conscious activities one can know the supreme absolute truth, but he who tries to understand God simply by logical arguments will not succeed, nor will he get a taste for unalloyed devotion. The secret, everyone listening, the secret is being told. Yeah. The secret is that one must submissively listen to those who know perfectly the science of God, and one must begin the mode of service regulated by the preceptor. A devotee already attracted by the name, form, qualities, etc. of the Supreme Lord may be directed to his specific manner of devotional service. He need not waste time in approaching the Lord through logic. The expert spiritual master knows well how to engage his disciples' energy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Thus he engages a devotee in a specific devotional service according to his special tendency. A devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master, because in the scriptures acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. There is no limit, however, to the number of instructing spiritual masters one may accept. Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. And just to finish this purport, one should always remember that a person who is reluctant to accept a spiritual master and be initiated is sure to be baffled in his endeavor to go back home, back to Godhead. And Prabhupada gives an example of a prominent personality in India who did not accept a spiritual master and therefore also became baffled. Yes. Non-verbal communication. Yeah, correct. And there has been, especially in places like India where it is part of the culture, of course, to know about Bhagavad Gita, to know Shastra, to know so many things. But many, sometimes, even prime ministers would write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, and naturally, because it's not in parampara, in Guru Parampara, would not render the proper meaning. One who is not properly initiated may present himself as a great devotee, but in fact, he is sure to encounter many stumbling blocks on his path of progress towards spiritual realization, with the result that he must continue his term of material existence without relief, like lockdown. One must remain in lockdown in the material world. Such a helpless person is compared to a ship without a rudder, for such a ship can never reach its destination. It is imperative, therefore, that one accept a spiritual master if he at all desires to gain the favor of the Lord. The service of the spiritual master is essential. If there is no chance to serve the spiritual master directly, a devotee should serve him by remembering his instructions. There is no difference between the spiritual master's instructions and the spiritual master himself. In his absence, therefore, his words of direction should be the pride of the disciple. If one thinks that he is above consulting anyone else, including a spiritual master, he is at once an offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. Such an offender can never go back to Godhead. It is imperative that a serious person accept a bona fide spiritual master in terms of the Shastric injunctions. Sri Jiva Goswami advises that one not accept a spiritual master in terms of hereditary or customary social and ecclesiastical conventions. One should simply try to find a genuinely qualified spiritual master for actual advancement in spiritual understanding. Any comments or questions on this?
So first one is like one time back probably asked me, like when we are worshipping Gaurnikai or Gaurnikai Purva activities, then if there is a need to have Panchatattva.
When we are worshipping Gaurnitai, whether there's a need to worship Panchatattva?
Like Panchatattva photo is there, and Gaurnikai is already there. Like 2 times they are there. Like,
Yeah, Gaurnitai are already part of Panchatattva.
in fact, if there is a need once again to have Panchatattva in our
I've seen it in many places. There may be some, you would have to check with the Ministry of Deity Worship to find out if there's any kind of rasa basa there, you know. The very first temple and the first altar that I experienced was a picture that was quite common in the early days, a picture of the Panchatattva. But yeah, that's an interesting point, because Gornitai are already within Panchatattva. Of course, if we look at Mayapur, they have small Radha Madhava and Krishna. I'm sorry, and Lord Chaitanya, right? Krishna. Small Radha Madhava and Lord Chaitanya. And then, of course, they have big Radha Madhava and the Astasakis. And then they have on a separate altar. So generally, Panchatattva, the few Panchatattva altars that I know, they will also have Gornitai, but on a separate altar. Like in Hawaii. In Hawaii they have Panchatattva, then they have Gornitai on a separate altar. You can find out from
These purports, previous slokas, purports shows that the essentiality of worshipping Panchatattva, because with all the Krishna's five manifestations. So if you have only Gaunitai, then you are missing the aspects of Krishna's.
You're saying that we should have Panchatattva.
That's my understanding.
Right. Yes.
Like
I inquired from devotees who did this deity worship course in Mayapur.
Mm-hmm.
And so one devotee who brought, Srinath brought one devotee, is also head pujari of Balaji temple, Pune.
Okay.
So he said, because we are preaching movement, so we should have less of deities.
There's deities on the altar.
Yeah, so that we can spend more time teaching and
So your point is that you spoke to some devotees who had attended a course in Mayapur on deity worship, probably, yeah. And they had come out of that course with the understanding that there should be less deities on the altar. Or actually the point you're making is that what was being emphasized is that our movement is a preaching movement, and in that context, having less deities than more will I think it depends on where one has a temple. In places like Mayapur and Vrindavan, in established holy dhams, we have quite a few deities, and it's still a preaching movement there. So, in principle, the emphasis is very much to be going out and preaching, trying to give Krishna consciousness, and therefore, in the early days especially, most of the temples they had Gornitai deities, because Gornitai they are easily served, easily satisfied. Even in some temples, devotees would they would only have a few devotees, and they would leave for a few days, and Gornitai are happy because their devotees are preaching. If they could not take them, very often they would take deities with them, of course, preaching Gornitai. So, although that principle is there, every situation has to be looked on its own merit at the same time.
Second,
Yes.
We hear that sometimes, in society, many people in a common general way that they put forward Sai Baba as like something that it's confused also, like either Guru or Lord. Or, so in those forums or in those like groups and all, when they like share a photo or something, so then how strict we should be as a preacher, like because
How what?
how strict we should be, like we see Sai Baba is coming in group, hey, why you are Mayavadi putting in between that? Like how strict we should be in the, like they are all new people, not connected to Guru Parampara.
How strict we should be
Like
in presenting the philosophy.
not exactly giving lecture, but in a common sense when you go to society, you see like Sai Baba temples.
Well, when we visit other temples, we have to be cautious. These people have their own understanding, and so in somebody else's temple, you can't speak exactly the same thing that you could speak in your own temple, or maybe in a general assembly. But even in a general assembly, Srila Prabhupada was cautious not to single out, by name at least, individuals, although sometimes he would describe certain activities going on in some groups, and we could easily understand what group he was speaking about. We have to be simultaneously quite clear and upfront in terms of presenting Krishna consciousness as it is, and presenting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the same time understanding that some people who have been worshipping differently for a long time, it takes some time for them to come around. So it depends on the context. We cannot water down our philosophy. At the same time, according to time, place, and circumstance, if you preach on a one-to-one basis to someone, that will be different than if you preach maybe to a whole group of people. So there are different situations that one has to take into consideration. But in general, as Prabhupada demonstrated, we should not at all be hesitant to establish and proclaim and refer to the conclusion that is there in our Vedic literatures as taught by our acharyas, and establishing Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we should be sensitive not to openly, publicly offend people who have some other belief. Yeah. Okay. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Adi Lila ki, Gaura Piyanam Hare Krishna.